Megamart and Macromart supermarkets in Bahrain has opened in Sahala. The best offers are available to the customers at affordable rates. Everyone is welcome. During and around the opening day, a variety of fish including salmon, meat and dairy products, roastery, frozen items, food and non-food items, groceries, fruits and vegetables, electronics, garments and ready-to-eat food items are available to the customers at affordable rates. Hearty welcome to all. Megamart and Macromart, your favorite shopping destination.
NEC Remit. Send money online to India. Credit in seconds with great rates. Download NEC Remit app now.
The exclusive franchisee of Cochin Kala Bhavan in Bahrain. With over a decade of existence in Bahrain, exclusive online regular classes have started for classical dances, music vocal, instrumental music, cinematic dance, Kathak, Zumba body fitness, karate and yoga, drawing, arts and craft, children's theatre. For more information, please call 3909 6845 3909 4806 3885 2397 or visit www.bahrainmediacity.com. Since 2006, Magnum Imprint have been offering high standards of quality with our professional team that delivers all your advertising and promotional requirements efficiently and promptly. For more details, please contact 39887088 or 33856330 or 33542530.
Hi, good evening viewers. Welcome to today's episode of KIMSHEALTH Doctor Live. Myself, Kripa Raji. In this episode, we have taken the topic nutrition and hygiene in children as well as likely problems occurring during the current changes of climate. To talk more about this topic, we are having an efficient doctor with us. He's having 36 years of experience in pediatric field. He is a specialist pediatrician working for KIMSHEALTH Medical Center, Mohoreg. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Govind Swaminathan to our show. Hi doctor, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank
How
you.
are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you doctor. Can we move ahead with the topic, doctor?
Absolutely.
Doctor, can you please tell our viewers the importance of breastfeeding during the first year of childbirth?
Sure. It's important to encourage mothers to breastfeed exclusively as much as possible, particularly in the first 6 months, because breast milk, as I think most people know, is the best form of milk. It's God-given milk, so there's nothing better than that, obviously. It has a lot of nutrients and it has a lot of anti-infective factors that help babies during the first few months of life. It's also important to tell mothers that whatever milk they're giving, preferably breast milk, there's no need to give any additional water in the first 6 months or so of life, because milk is about 80% water. And they also don't need to supplement with formula if the baby is satisfied with just breast milk, because formula is a little more difficult to digest, and breast milk is actually ideally suited to the bowel of the baby. Having said that, of course, the baby should not go hungry because of the lack of milk if the mother is not able to breastfeed.
Telling about the formula, doctor, if mother is having an insufficient amount of breast milk, is it advisable for us to give a formula milk for the infant during the first year of life?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even though breast milk is obviously the best kind of milk for the baby, there may be many instances where mothers can't breastfeed, either due to physical reasons, psychological reasons, medical reasons. They may be on drugs, for example, that are excreted in breast milk. So such situations may warrant the use of a formula. So in those situations, yes, obviously you must give formula feeds. The bottom line, as I said earlier, is that the baby should never go hungry because of the inability of the mother to feed or the lack of breast milk and so on. So formulas certainly have a place.
Doctor, what type of food can be started during the weaning period?
Well, the easiest foods to digest for the baby initially are probably rice or wheat cereal and mashed fruits and vegetables. So we normally advise that you start with a rice cereal, and probably as an alternative, so the baby doesn't get bored, probably start along with rice, some vegetables or mashed fruits. From that point on, probably some egg yolk, fully cooked egg yolk can also be started. So these are the few initial foods that you can start. It's just important to make sure that you don't start too many foods at one time, because if you start too many things at one time, you wouldn't know if the baby has allergy to any particular food. So give a small portion of any particular food for the first 3 days, and then increase the amount, and then if you want to start something else, again give a small amount of food of that particular variety, just to make sure the baby is not allergic to any of these foods.
Can you please tell us how important the milk as a general nutrient, especially during the first 6 months of life?
Well, milk is the only thing that the baby can actually digest in the first 6 months, so it's extremely important. But unfortunately, after that, milk, the main value of milk is to sort of provide fluid volume. There's not enough nutrients to sustain the baby's hemoglobin and other nutritional requirements after the first 6 months of life. So that's why we start weaning at 6 months. But in the first 6 months, yes, it's of vital importance. And as I said, milk only, no water, nothing else, no other fluid other than milk.
How can we handle the problem of fussy eaters or picky eaters?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a common problem, and I think with the increase of fast food, the fast food culture, people or kids especially seem to opt to eat fast food with more liking than food made at home. So they become fussy and cranky when they're offered or made to eat home food. So one way to do it is to encourage them to sit with the family and eat and try a wide variety of foods. For example, small children are sometimes attracted not only by the taste and smell, but also by the color of food. So if you put some brightly colored fruits, vegetables, foods that may not actually taste very appealing, children might be at least encouraged to try them for the first time just by going by the color. Bright colors like red fruits, bright yellow, bright green, stuff like that. Another way is probably to offer a reward, for example, in the form of some say a toy, or say a fun activity that you can have with your parents, or go to the park, go to a play area, for example, of which there are plenty here in Bahrain. The only thing I wouldn't encourage is to provide sweets or as a treat after a meal, because then the child probably will get an idea that food is bad and sweets are good, and that actually defeats the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. I mean, the child will then become worse rather than better in terms of picky eating. So these are some of the techniques we employ to try on fussy eaters.
Coming to the fast food, I have a doubt. Should the children completely avoid the fast food? Because nowadays they are more into fast food,
Exactly,
junk foods.
Yeah. That's the culture nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays
yes,
it's that.
yes.
Rather than like homely cooked food, if
Exactly,
you are telling
yeah.
pizza or burger, they'll directly jump into that.
Yes,
Even my
that's
kid.
right. That's right. Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen that a lot, or all of us pediatricians have seen that a lot in the last, say, probably a decade or so at least. So the answer I would like to give is yes, absolutely you should avoid all fast food, but that's not really practical, because if one kid sees another kid eating fast food, they will also keep crying and screaming if parents don't give them fast food. So probably once in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or something like that, as a kind of special treat, as a family outing, you can go to a fast food place and give them fast food, for example. The same holds true for fizzy drinks. You should always encourage children to drink water, primarily water, and probably some fruit juices or something like that. rather than go for fizzy drinks which have absolutely no health benefit.
Can you please explain the importance of food hygiene awareness to children, how vital it is?
Yeah, hygiene is extremely important to be taught to children at a really early age. It's important at a very young age, as soon as they can actually understand these things, to tell children about the importance of hand washing in particular, and washing your mouth and washing well after every meal, including snacks, to tell them the importance of protecting their teeth and gums by doing all this. So it is important, it is vital actually.
During this pandemic, we are forced to use hand sanitizer. Then and there, when we touch something, we are advised to do that hand sanitizing. Even we are doing for that kids also.
Yes.
So how safe it is?
Well, it's important to use hand sanitizers. It's not a substitute for washing hands, but obviously you don't have hand washing facilities everywhere. So yeah, they are safe, except that you need to take some precautions when hand sanitizers are being used in children, or children are around hand sanitizers. For example, you should make sure they don't accidentally swallow hand sanitizers, because they are alcohol based, and beyond a certain amount you can actually have alcohol poisoning. The other thing is that it's only for external use, so if it splashes and goes into the eyes, that can also be pretty harmful. As I said, it's alcohol based, so alcohol is flammable. So obviously if you expose it to extreme heat or put it close to a flame, it can catch fire or explode, so that's a fire hazard. So you need to be a little careful about that as well. So barring these precautions, yes, it is pretty safe. Children can actually probably eat directly even after washing their hands or cleansing their hands with hand sanitizer. So I would always advise them to try to wash. If it's impossible, then it's okay to just eat without washing in an emergency. But otherwise, yeah, generally they would be considered safe.
When can we start brushing teeth for our children, and also when we can use toothpaste?
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that as soon as teeth start erupting, they need cleaning. They don't need vigorous cleaning, so we generally encourage to start the practice of attempting to brush the child's teeth as soon as the first tooth erupts, which can be anywhere between 6 and 8 months. So it's important, it is, I mean, if only 1 or 2 teeth come out, it is not quite as important to actually clean them, rather than get the child used to the practice of the practice of actually opening his or her mouth and brushing the teeth. It should be made a routine so that the child gets used to it. And you just need to use a few grains of toothpaste for a child that is less than 3 years on the softest toothbrush that's available, and probably a pea-sized amount of toothpaste for a child, say between 3 and 6 years. It's important to ensure that the child gets into the habit of brushing their teeth at least twice a day. Early morning before breakfast and the last thing before bedtime.
Nowadays the climate is so uncertain. It's changing from cold to warm. So what are the common problems that a kid is facing due to this change in the climate?
Well, the most common problems are upper respiratory infections, which include a cough, cold, breathlessness, for example, either due to a nose block. Sometimes they also get lower respiratory infections, and children with asthma can get asthmatic attacks, for example, which are normally precipitated by a previous cold or cough. The other set of problems are diarrhea and vomiting, medically called gastroenteritis. That's exacerbated by eating out pretty frequently during summer. It's common practice to eat meat-based foods like shawarma, for example, which is actually exposed most of the time and is constantly being cooked over a slow fire. So that can fairly easily get spoiled. Children need to be a little careful about eating stuff like that because that can cause some diarrhea and vomiting. You need to be careful of where you eat as well.
Next, I have a doubt, doctor. Is it necessary for a parent to take a child at the first sign of illness itself and get medicated?
It would probably depend on the age of the child as well as the nature of the illness. Now, probably the most common problem that the child will probably face is just fever, right? So, a fever, at least according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, below the age of 3 months, any fever is considered serious. So, any child with a fever is defined as a temperature of 38 degrees Celsius or more, or 100 degrees Fahrenheit or more. So, in the first 3 months, because children's immune systems are so weak, they don't have much defense against infection. So, they need to be taken to a physician to evaluate them in the first 3 months for any fever. For a child of beyond 3 months, probably up to about 6-7 months, if the temperature is probably 101, rectal temperature is probably 101 degrees Fahrenheit or more, you will probably need to see a physician. And beyond that age, probably 102 or 102.5. At that age, at that degree of temperature, probably it is safer to consult a physician. If the child has no other associated symptoms like vomiting or looks unwell to the parent or something like that. If, for example, a child has a cough or cold, you can probably wait it out because most of them are simple virus infections. Unless the child starts having high fever, as I said, above 102 Fahrenheit, or starts appearing to have a earache, or starts looking really dull, goes off his feeds, starts vomiting, or develops a skin rash. These are probably warning signs that this may not be just limited to a simple cough and cold. You may then need to go consult a physician.
Doctor, coming to the medication problem, usually when a kid is having a fever, what we usually do is, like me, I'm a mother, what I used to do is, I'll give a paracetamol suspension at the first. So, is that advisable as self-medication by ourselves?
Yeah, again, as I said, it depends on the symptoms and the degree of the illness of the child. If for any reason the child looks really unwell to you, unwell, then you probably should take him or her to the doctor. If the child has just a fever below the limits that I mentioned and is otherwise active and playing and all that, yes, you just follow the instructions on the paracetamol bottle and you can give some doses. If that doesn't help the child in the first 24 hours, then you should probably seek expert help. The same is true for a cough or cold. The American Academy of Pediatrics, for example, doesn't really recommend cough medications for children because they have not been found to be particularly effective. We tend to just prescribe medications more to satisfy ourselves than because it actually has an effect. Simple antihistamines, I suppose, can be used probably 1 or 2 doses. Most of them need to be used only once a day for an initial cold, or maybe some saline nasal spray. Again, I would just allow probably just about 24 hours for things to improve, and if they don't improve, again, it is always better to seek expert help. But if there is any history of any sign of breathlessness or any difficulty in sleeping because of a cough and cold, if the cough is persistent and seems to be getting worse, yes, definitely you need to go seek help. So yeah, as a follow-up to the previous question that you asked about whether a parent needs to seek help immediately, no, because there are these medications available to you for you to use initially, but I wouldn't use them probably more than 24 hours, and if things don't seem to be improving, then certainly yes, you must call a physician. The same holds for, say, a child who has diarrhea and vomiting. Now, vomiting is more worrisome than diarrhea because vomiting would mean that the child is not able to tolerate any oral fluids. So whatever you attempt to give him will probably come out. Diarrhea is disturbing to the parents, but clinically for us pediatricians it is less worrying than vomiting, because even if the child has a number of loose motions, you can probably replace what he is losing by mouth. So the time to seek help from a physician is if the child develops signs of dehydration. What you look for initially is whether the child is becoming lethargic, or if he starts vomiting. Suppose he had diarrhea only earlier and then he started developing vomiting as well, you should then probably seek help. Or if the diarrhea seems to be increasing, or along with diarrhea and vomiting he develops high fever, for example, and the activity becomes less, and so on.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for joining with us for this episode. I hope we have covered almost all the queries related to this topic. Can you please give a takeaway message to our viewers?
Well, I think the most important thing I would advise is regarding hygiene. A lot of these infections, including coughs, colds, diarrhea, and vomiting, for example, all these can be prevented by proper hand hygiene, use of sanitizers, and so on. So that's my take-home message to the viewers, that you should concentrate on hand hygiene.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you once again.
Sure.
For any pediatric needs, you can contact Dr. Govind Swaminathan at KIMSHEALTH Medical Center, Mohrak. Doctor, can you please explain your duty timings to our viewers?
Yeah, well, I'll be happy to serve you. You're always welcome. I work from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. on all days other than Friday. So thank you, Ms. Kripa. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Doctor. So next week I'll be back with yet another doctor, same time, same day. Until it's Kripa Rajiv signing off from KIMSHEALTH Doctor Live. Thank you. Bye-bye.